I was on the road most of today, going to the library in Toronto. But I just wanted to mention really quick this is another really, really big Catholic connection to Jeffrey Epstein's Black Book, which shows, the true nature of what the Black Book was. The Black Book was, an allegory for the Jesuit Black International, the Black Papacy. As E. Howard Hunt said, the Jesuits are the greatest intelligence service in the world and always have. They control the world, and Jesuits they use these aristocratic financiers to control the world. Big part in the plan. That's when you see. There's a ton of financiers and Catholics on Epstein's list. Like you got the Catholic royalty, Marie Habsburg from the Austrian Catholic Habsburg dynasty. You have the Ehrenberg royal family on Epstein's list. I did a video singling out. I did 2 videos singling out Rosa Monckton, who is a British aristocrat, Catholic on Epstein's list, who was educated by Catholic nuns in Belgium. Rosa Monckton has 8 charities for children. So we're wondering where's Epstein, getting his the kids from. It's right in front of you. Rosa Monckton has 8 child charities for children. Rosa Monckton's brother, Lord Christopher Monckton, is also a Knight of Malta in the House of Lords. And I found this. Here's I'll show you here's the entry on Black from the Black Book on Conrad Black. And this is another big Catholic connection to Epstein. Conrad Black is actually in the British House of Lords right now. He's Canadian born. And I didn't realize, Conrad Black is a papal knight. He's a papal knight of St. Gregory the Great, just like Rupert Murdoch is a papal knight of St. Gregory the Great. When Rupert Murdoch said that his News Corporation is just like the Jesuits. And Rupert Murdoch is on this list. But I'll show you, like, from Conrad Black's own autobiography, where he says that he's a Knight of Malta, or a Knight of St. Gregory the Great, which is a papal order. And Conrad Black converted to Catholicism and, openly wrote about it. Here's an article here. I like this illustration from Conrad Black, Why I Became a Catholic. Just listening to, this was an old show Johnny did when he was analyzing, what was the documentary? Oliver Stone's Secret History of the United States documentary, and Johnny was reading an article from this guy, Conrad Black, criticizing Oliver Stone's documentary, and Conrad Black was saying that it's ridiculous that anyone would question the Warren report. Like you're just like a loony conspiracy theorist. Yeah, but yeah, I'll read you a bit from this. But yeah, this is and you see Conrad Black and his wife. It's his wife Barbara, and they had many meetings together. Look, he has way more entries on Epstein's Black Book than the usual. Just like the very Catholic Rosa Monckton, who had 8 children's charities. Rosa Monckton, educated by Catholic nuns, had more than an average amount of entries on the Epstein's Black Book compared to the other members. Oh, here's Tony Blair. Tony Blair, who announced he would be the Prime Minister of Britain. Tony Blair, who actually he announced he was a Roman Catholic after he left office. Tony Blair is the same guy who he canceled the investigation. The British were going to do like a probe into BAE Systems in 2002, looking at shady deals between BAE Systems and Saudi Arabia. And Roman Catholic Tony Blair said, nope, we're going to cancel that inquiry. And look here, Mike Bloomberg. Mike Bloomberg's a former mayor of New York, classic example of a papal court juke. The Archbishop of New York, Cardinal Edward Egan, was campaigning for Mike Bloomberg. Mike Bloomberg's chief media advisor, Eric Wyerson, went to Jesuit Georgetown University, that being Bloomberg's chief media advisor. But it's easier. But just looking at this, so Conrad Black and his wife Barbara, were meeting with Epstein, and looks like in Conrad's London home, Conrad's Toronto home, which is interesting because Conrad Black had a private chapel in his Toronto house that he would invite the Archbishop of Toronto over and have private mass together. So it looks like Epstein was at Conrad Black's Toronto home, devout Catholic Conrad Black. Jeffrey Epstein, you can see the photo of him with Pope John Paul II as well. Jeffrey Epstein's Six Foundation, the Epstein Six Foundation, was donating, thousands and thousands of dollars to Catholic charities in the Virgin Islands. But here's the quote from, where is this here? This is from Conrad Black's like autobiography book here called A Matter of Principle. We see this is on like page here, Conrad Black. This is his autobiography. But you can see, I'm going to read you from his own words that he papal knighted. This is page 58. Okay. So he's talking about his house in Toronto. So I'll read this because this is the house that Jeffrey Epstein was going to, it looks like, from his Black book. So this is the devout Catholic Conrad Black. And Conrad Black is like a media magnate in Canada. He founded like the National Post, for instance. And like Conrad Black actually got into like a scandal, like a money laundering scandal in the U.S. And the Supreme Court actually like rewrote the definition of bribery to like pardon this devout Catholic Conrad Black. Pretty funny. But you see here's I'm just reading from Conrad Black's words here. My house in Toronto was the single place that could always bring me peace. I had rebuilt and extended my parents' house and expanded the property to almost 11 acres, unusually generous for a Toronto home. The contents are not particularly noteworthy, but is a correct and pleasing Georgian home, improved since 1976. Now it has 2 double-height connected libraries entirely paneled in oak, as well as a spacious workroom for Barbara with large windows, and room for Jeffrey Epstein too, and Barbara with large windows and French doors overlooking the garden. The house probably contains more than 20,000 books, probably a lot of the Catholic catechisms, Catholic manuals, for instance. I bet, but more than 20,000 books, as well as the hundreds of still unpacked boxes of books that were moved there from London. The rebuilding of the house. This is his house in Toronto, Conrad Black. Conrad Black's the current House of Lords, but he was born in Canada, British aristocrat though. The rebuilding of the house was the final serious residential project of Thierry Despont, a French architect and Harvard alumnus who had gone on to a great architectural eminence. So it is a milestone in a noteworthy career. This is where it gets interesting here. Despont subsequently designed the handsome indoor swimming pool, a walled garden, and a chapel. That's a Catholic chapel, which was consecrated by Cardinal Gerald Emmett Carter and Carl Aloysius M. Ambrosiak of Toronto. That's the Cardinal, Cardinal of Toronto, Archbishop of Toronto. We had a number of events there, including my installation as a Knight of the Order of St. Gregory the Great. And I use the chapel every day I am in that house. And you can see this is the same house that, the house right here. It was consecrated by the Cardinal Gerald Emmett Carter and Cardinal Aloysius Ambrosiak of Toronto. This is the same house where this Conrad Black was given his Order of St. Gregory the Great. If you go to Epstein's Black book, you can see Toronto on the house. You can see the 416 area code. Epstein looks like was going to devout Catholic Conrad Black's house in Toronto, where he would hang out with the archbishops and have mass in his private house. So look at how many entries Conrad Black has like on. Let me see here. He's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. He's got like 24, 25 listings on Epstein's Black book. At least 2 of them are in Toronto. Here's one Toronto, and his Toronto house is where he hangs out with the archbishops. Here I got a quote from Vanity Fair. You see, Toronto's Roman Catholic Archbishop, the late Cardinal Carter, was a frequent guest and confidant of Conrad's at Conrad's Toronto house, and even consecrated a private chapel at Black's house in the city. In 1986, at age 41, where did that go there? I don't know what's going on here. Give me a second. Vanity Fair articles, like pop-ups galore. Okay, so, whoa, jeez. Sorry about that. These pop-ups are out of control here. Okay, but in 1986, at age 41, Black converted from Anglicanism to Catholicism, a decision he explains in his autobiography as the result of an arduous philosophical investigation. His critics snipe that Catholicism, with its emphasis on power and intrigue, is a natural choice for Black. Well, his critics are right. Quote, he also wanted to be the kind of guy who could whistle up a cardinal for a dinner party, end quote, one says. Black admits that, in his own memoirs. By all count, Black. Okay, but I'll read that there. But actually, there's this article. I link this in the description, or I'll link this in the description because there's a photo of Conrad Black with his girlfriend here that was hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein. Looks like Barbara Emile. She's changed her name to Barbara Black, but there's Barbara Emile in 2003 with Conrad Black at the Annabelle nightclub. This is in 2003 when Epstein was going. He had his operation going down in Palm Beach in the Virgin Islands down at this time in 2003. So this is a very, very interesting connection to Epstein's list. The Knight of St. Gregory the Great, media magnate Conrad Black. I'm just going to read a little excerpt from Conrad Black's article on why I became a Catholic. I read a good deal of the most admired arguments in support of God's existence, especially Aquinas and Newman. When Gerald Emmett Carter became the Archbishop of Toronto in 1979, I quickly became an acquaintance, then a friend, and eventually an intimate. He never pressed his religion. I wonder if that's why he got pardoned by the U.S. Supreme Court. Probably. Definitely a big part of it. I would say how close Conrad Black was with the Catholic Church, considering that there's 6 open Catholics on the U.S. Supreme Court. Continuing, the Archbishop Gerald Emmett Carter never pressed his religious views or attempted to proselytize. I frequently stopped at his house in Rosedale on my way uptown from my office, and we discussed a good many subjects, sometimes ecclesiastical ones, usually over some of his very good claret. There were tumultuous years in my commercial and at times personal life also. His counsel was given. Sorry about that. I got my window open. But see, the Archbishop's counsel was only given when requested and was always wise. Are you kidding me? This guy had 25 entries on Jeffrey Epstein's Black Book. Yeah, but there's that article there, Conrad Black, Why I Became Catholic. And if you just, I'll show you his Wikipedia page here. He's a current member in the British House of Lords. This guy's very prominent in the Canadian news media, particularly the right wing in Canada. You see here, he's a knight, as he admitted in his memoirs, Conrad Black. He is a pontifical equestrian order of St. Gregory the Great, just as Rupert Murdoch is, who was on Epstein's list with them. See, at one point, Black controlled Hollinger. He was given a full pardon by Trump, also. Interestingly, and he wrote a puff piece about Donald Trump recently too. I wasn't aware of that. But Conrad Black controlled Hollinger International, one of the world's 3rd largest English language newspaper empire, which published the Daily Telegraph in the UK, the Chicago Sun-Times in the US, the Jerusalem Post in Israel, and the National Post in Canada. And also it says here hundreds of community newspapers in North America, before controversy erupted over the sale of some of the company's assets. And you can read about that case here. The Supreme Court actually changed the definition of bribery to bail out this Catholic aristocratic pedophile Conrad Black. Very fitting that the U.S. Supreme Court would do this. You see here, he's a member currently of the House of Lords. He's Lord Temporal. Rosa Monckton, a devout Catholic, who's on Epstein's list. She had over 15 entries on Epstein's list. Rosa Monckton has 8 child's charities, and her husband, the Knight of Malta, Lord Christopher Monckton, is in the House of Lords as well. See, but Conrad Black's official aristocratic title name is the Lord Black of Cross Harbor. That's his aristocratic title. And you can see your Knight of St. Gregory the Great. Supposedly this guy is Anglican. But again, I did a video on this. I'll show you this Anglican church here in St. Catherine, St. Stanislaus Anglican. Oh, where was that? Give me a minute here. I'm forgetting the name of this church. Conrad Black converted from Anglicanism to Catholicism, but there's a church here in St. Catherine, St. Barnabas. That's what it was. Look at the logo of this St. Barnabas Anglican Church here in St. Catharines. Can you tell me, is the Roman Catholic Church now controlling the Anglican Church? well, you'll see. Where's the logo? You can see this on their website. Okay, here it is. Here. Where's the photo? Just want to show you like that. You'll see what I mean. The logo of this Anglican church is a Jesuit IHS. I did a video on it. Yeah, you can see it right here. Look at the logo of this Anglican church. You see that? St. Barnabas Anglican. That's a Jesuit IHS right on the Anglican church. Like you can't get more in the open with it. This actually, when I was biking to work last year and I saw this, and I had to, I did a little double take and I had to go over and take a picture. I was like, no way, there's a Jesuit IHS on this Anglican church. But it's right there. Conrad Black is a convert from Anglicanism to Catholicism. He's very influential in the media, and he was on Epstein's list, 25 times. Prominent Catholic. He talks about bringing the Archbishop of Toronto to his mansion house in Toronto, which Jeffrey Epstein was at. And you can see that clearly here. Jeffrey Epstein was at Catholic aristocratic Conrad Black's house at least twice in Toronto. And look, he was at Conrad's London house 3 times. Conrad Black probably has like a chapel or 2 in his London place too, I'm assuming. But I just wanted to mention that there's another big Vatican connection to Jeffrey Epstein's list. You can see the true nature of what this Black Book was. This is the world's elite who serve Rome that are connected to this Black Book, and that's why the devout Catholic William Sweeney, who attends Mass with Cardinal Dolan, is the lead FBI investigator into this case. It's going to be to gatekeep all these Vatican connections to Epstein. And if they are going to charge someone, I'm thinking they'll charge a Jewish person, or they'll charge like someone who is working at the prison, like a low-level prison guard. They'll charge like a low-level prison guard for like negligence or something like that. But no way they're going to go after the big names like Conrad Black. And here, Conrad Black is, more affiliated with Epstein than, it looks like. Out of all the names on his Black Book, like I think Conrad Black had the biggest entry. He's a literal papal knight of Saint Gregory the Great. Like, are you kidding me? He's right here. Matter of principle. Frankly, he brags about it in his memoirs, autobiography, Matter of Principle, on page 58. You can see that right here on the screen. Yeah, I think that's all for this one, YouTube. Peace and love, and Namnast. I'll catch you on the next one. Oh, actually, let me see if there's I'll be seeing some chats here. Oh, absolutely. All the mainstream networks do. Yep. Absolutely. Even with the Canadian networks, there's connections to the Jesuits. I did a video back in my a year ago now, going into the Canadian media. That you should check that out, Jeremy. A lot of Canadians are deceived too. Canada has like the most concentrated corporate media, out of like any industrialized country. Like our main news source, CBC, is government funded. So there's literally, there's no difference between CBC and like the Chinese communist state TV. There's no difference. But Canadians will like condemn the Communist Party, for having like a corrupt media. But then our media, is literally state owned, just like the communist media. I did a video on CBC a while back. Yeah, right here. Yeah, CBC and the Canadian Radio Telecommunications Commission. These guys, I think these guys may have changed positions, but at the time I found 2 Jesuit trained guys at the top of Canada's media. At the CBC, it was Hubert Lacroix, who's the CBC president. This guy went to Jesuit Jean Brébeuf, the same Jesuit college that Justin Trudeau went to. Imagine that. Why do you think the CBC does like fact-checking columns? And if you disagree with Justin Trudeau in anything, they'll fact-check you, and they'll, according to the CBC, like you're incorrect. Pretty comical. Yeah, this guy here, Hubert Lacroix, Jesuit trained, was in control of the CBC for a while. And this guy here in Canada, Jean-Pierre Blast, was Jesuit trained. He was the head of the Canadian Radio, Television, and Telecommunications Commission. For instance. And just I'll think one example in the U.S. I'll just show you quick here. Is no one seems to talk about this guy in the alternative media. Bob Wright at NBC. This guy was the chairman and CEO at NBC for like 20 years. And this guy went to Jesuit Holy Cross and actually got like a Wall Street medal from Jesuit Boston College. Yeah, he got the President's Medal of Excellence at Jesuit Boston College Wall Street Council tribute dinner. And Bob Wright also went to Jesuit College of the Holy Cross. This guy was like, running NBC literally for over, 25 years. No one talks about him. So, the papists are in control of all the major media conglomerates, all over the world. Conrad Black is a big media magnet in Canada. Like this guy, in terms of like the right-wing media in Canada, like this guy is, still like probably one of the most prominent, right-wing voices in Canadian media. Another one, actually, this guy's another one of the biggest right-wing pundits in Canadian media, and he is Catholic. What a surprise. Rex Murphy, this guy's Catholic. This guy's very Catholic. You can find lots of stuff on that. But, this guy's on, I don't know if the CBC fired him or not. I think he's still on the CBC. Yeah, he's still, or it looks like, yeah, he left the CBC apparently. I don't know if he fired him, but this guy's still one of the biggest right-wing voices in Canada. And he's, very, very Catholic. Rex Murphy, for instance. And the guy running against, and that's why, Rex Murphy is like a very big advocate of Andrew Scheer, the Conservative candidate for office. And Andrew Scheer in Canada, the guy who's running up against Jesuit-trained Justin Trudeau, Andrew Scheer, is a devout Catholic, a deacon in the Ottawa Archdiocese, and taught at the Ottawa Catholic School Board in Carleton Place. And it's just reality of Canada. Like when the Chief Justice, our current Chief Justice, Richard Wagner, Chief Justice of Canada, is Jesuit trained at the same school that Justin Trudeau went to, and Herbert Lacroix, the president of the CBC. You see how it's a kind of a club? This guy here, actually, Richard Wagner, when he was being sworn in as our new Chief Justice in 2017, it was the first time that he invited the Ottawa District Catholic School Board to the swearing in of a Chief Justice, and he pointed at the students of the Ottawa Catholic District School Board and told them that you are the future of Canada. And I have that documented in the post I did on this papist. Really, this guy told the Catholics of the Ottawa Catholic School Board, like that's symbolic of Catholics as a whole in Canada. He told them that you're the future of our country. And the Canada was consecrated to the Virgin Mary in 1947. So it shouldn't surprise us that one of our biggest media magnets here in Canada, Conrad Black, is a devout Catholic, and he's connected to Epstein's pedophile ring. Yeah, I think I'm going to wrap it up there, and peace and love, everyone. I'll catch you on the next one. All the best.